When it comes to the history of Marvel, perhaps there is no single fictional character more important than Spider-Man. Someone who is relatable to so many people. He is a hero that absolutely everybody loves. He has been used to create billions of dollars for this company, generating revenue in toys, comics, and movies. However, even though he is the most single important character, there is a group in the Marvel family that some would say is even more important than the Wall Crawler. In fact, it's even a group Spidey was once a part of. And no, I'm not talking about the Avengers, I'm talking about the Fantastic Four. Now, in terms of the normal public, the average moviegoer, they can kind of be seen in a negative light. People have called them boring and uninteresting, but that's mainly only because their movies, are boring and uninteresting. However, the Fantastic Four are not. Ask anyone who was alive in November of 1961. These comic book characters became an absolute success with the release of Fantastic Four #1 due to the vision of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This success is actually the reason why Stan Lee stuck around with Marvel and thus went on to create such iconic characters like Spider-Man. They were the first real step forward for Marvel to become an absolute juggernaut. So, this illustrious team can become a popular group if presented right to the public. And, what a better way to create a popular super team than by giving them their own MCU movie. Hey guys, my name is DJ and today I discuss with you how I think the Fantastic Four should be introduced into the MCU. Before we start, I do want to direct you to this video up in the eye. If you haven't seen it, then I recommend you do so. Not only because it's one of my videos, and of course I want you to watch all my videos, but also because I'm going to format this video similarly to how I formatted that video. I'm going to lay out the ground rules to this hypothetical movie pitch, and tell you everything that I want accomplished and everything that I don't want in this movie. Then, following that, I'm going to create a bit of a mock-up script. So, what is it that we need to do with this movie? First thing, we want to reintroduce the Fantastic Four to a mainstream audience. Now, that one's kind of obvious. And considering the last time this happened, it wasn't really good, we'll just try to stick to their original origin in most adaptations. We don't need anything different, we can just stick to the basics. Most people don't really know much about the Fantastic Four, so why overcomplicate things with a different origin? The second thing we want to do is make it seem as though the four characters have just always been around. We can't just act like the Fantastic Four are in their own little bubble, so we need to make their origin kind of make sense within the rules of the MCU. Otherwise, why have them in the MCU in the first place if they do not seem as though they belong in the MCU? Now, last caveat for making this script. And it might seem a little odd to people who are just casual fans of the Fantastic Four. I want to make their origin story in a way that doesn't lead Doctor Doom to be the main enemy for the first movie. We've already seen him so many times as the main villain to the team that I feel as though we should see something fresh, really differentiate this movie from the other ones. Sure, he can be in the sequel, and trust me, I know Doctor Doom is a very important character, but for now, let's just kind of keep things fresh, keep things a little bit different. Let's just have some variety for the Fantastic Four. Okay, now that we've gotten all the rules out of the way, let's begin my own little script of how the MCU could introduce the Fantastic Four following all these principles. So we cut right into the action as Ben, Susan, Reed, and Johnny, and of course, Victor Von Doom, are all already in space, with warning signs happening all around them and the ship immediately being exposed to the famous radioactivity that turns them into the super-powered beings we know them as. They are immediately visibly ill and blast right back off to Earth. Of course, unknowing to the true effects of the radiation that they were just exposed to. They land down safely and they kind of just go off in their separate lives. Over the course of the next 10-ish minutes, I would assume, they all have their own scenes discovering their new superpowers. Now, I'll admit, this part of the script is kind of meh. I don't really know exactly the best way, personally, that they could discover their abilities, so if you have a different idea, let me know. I imagine Susan finds out she can become invisible by entering a changing room, looking into a mirror and realizes her lack of reflection. Maybe another person enters the changing room to get dressed while she's invisible. I don't know, have your laughs where you want them. But while Susan is discovering that, we move on to Stretchy Face Richards. Stretchy face stretcher. It's not good. It's not a good joke. It's pretty half-assed, if I'm gonna be completely honest. I imagine Reed is in his own lab studying his own blood and the effects of the radiation. Then he accidentally bumps a table and, I don't know, a glass vase falls. And he reaches out and realizes his arm stretches a few feet. It's not... I don't know how to write for Reed, okay? It's difficult. That's the best I have, okay? He, like, reaches for something and it's a little bit out of the way. And he grows a foot longer in his hand. I don't know. You tell me how to write him. Anyways, he shows off his elastic powers via stretching a little, just like a little bit. Anyway, something a little bit more inspired is the Human Torch, Johnny. I imagine Johnny is literally just sitting in traffic before he realizes his car and his seat are on fire, which I understand that might sound a little lame, but there is a reason behind it. Back in Fantastic Four #1, which I do take a lot of inspiration, by the way, when writing the script, there is a panel where Johnny burns through the roof of his car to go save the day. And I figured we could use that idea in a more comedic way here. Afterwards, the four all meet in Reed's lab in New York City, discussing if they have seen any effects of the radiation. Ben walks in last, but not as the Thing. He's still a normal guy. For now. Anyways, as they're discussing the effects and their new abilities, they look out of the window of Reed's lab and realize, oh my god, there's monsters attacking New York City, just right out of the gate. No explanation, no build-up, no flashback, we just jump right into it. Monsters are attacking New York City and terrorizing everybody. The first big fight is taking place, where Falcon and Bucky are fighting off the monsters. Sue, Reed, and Johnny realizes we should help, considering we have these new superhuman abilities, so they decide to run out and save the day as well. Ben, however, decides to stay back at the lab because, I mean, he doesn't have superpowers. Why the hell would he risk his life? Anyways, as he stays in the lab, he watches as his three friends run off to join Bucky and Falcon, as they fight these literal monsters. A person by the name of Mole Man walks out and is playing the puppet master to these freaks. Now, with the trio of Sue, Reed, and Johnny just discovering their powers and not really being able to control them, they accidentally cost the five of them this fight. This mysterious new foe gets a win over Sue, Reed, Johnny, Falcon, and Bucky. However, they do not lose without a fight, and as such, Mole Man realizes his monsters and his army are getting weaker due to the constant attack by these five, and decide to retreat. Now, I kind of understand that most people don't know who Mole Man is. Most people who don't read comic books are going to just sit there in the theater being very confused. So, we cut right into backstory time. It cuts into the sewers where Mole Man and his monsters have decided to make their home, and as Mole Man is looking furious at this loss, it cuts to a flashback. Remember in the beginning of Spider-Man Homecoming where Vulture was one of the people trying to clean up after the events of the Avengers and the government took that job away from him? Well, I decided to MCUify the origin of Mole Man using this scene. Mole Man is shown to be one of the head scientists working for this government facility. He works with hundreds of other scientists doing pretty much exactly what Vulture was doing. The scientists are shown to be mixing the chemicals and technology of this alien hardware with our own. That is, until a massive explosion happens in the lab. This explosion from the mix of human and alien technology and chemicals have turned the scientists into these disgusting monsters that we see them as. And since Mole Man survived this, keeping his humanoid figure, he decided that he was going to lead these monsters. He wants to destroy the Avengers, finishing the job Loki did all those years ago. He wants to kill the Avengers, blaming them for bringing the alien fight to Earth, and then subsequently causing all of his friends and loved ones, his fellow scientists, to turn into these monsters. We cut out of the flashback and Mole Man, still furious, decides to turn towards his monsters, telling them to prepare for another attack on New York. So as he is seen furious and wanting revenge, we cut back to the Avengers building that's in New York. I assume they just have a building in New York after the other one was destroyed. We're just gonna go with it. Anyways, you see kind of the end of the discussion between the Fantastic Four, Bucky, and Falcon, talking about how the Fantastic Four got these powers. They're mainly just talking here, maybe a joke about Johnny looking a little bit like Captain America. Anyways, after a while, Falcon and Bucky both ask if anybody else was affected by this radiation. Then, they all realize that they left Ben back at the lab. They rush downstairs to go get him from Reed's lab until they hear a ruckus in the Avengers lobby. The camera slowly pans up from the floor of the Avengers lobby up until they see the face of Ben, now transformed into the Thing. He is just absolutely terrified that he's become this giant rock monster out of nowhere, begging anybody to help him. Reed, shocked as well by the effects of the radiation on the Thing, he decides to take them to a lab in the Avengers building. Within this lab, there is a lot more advanced technology that used to belong to Tony Stark. So, then comes a montage over the next few days. Within these few days, they are stuck in the Avengers lab, and with this new technology, learn more about their powers and how to really hone in on them. As they learn more about their powers, Ben is still absolutely terrified. He sees how becoming this monster could change his life forever. And he may not even change back to regular human form. We can also have them show Fantastic Four suits, you know, without the logo, just blue suits using technology from Tony Stark. Just a little blue prototype suit. Then, while all six, including Bucky and Falcon, are in the lab, they have a TV on in the background playing a live news feed. It shows the Mole Man and his monsters are back in New York rampaging throughout the streets. He's challenging all the Avengers to one final fight in the city. So, Falcon, Bucky, Mr. Incredible, the Human Torch, and Invisible Woman all decide to go out and face him. However, the Thing decides to stay back. He's afraid of how society will see him when he leaves. So, our five heroes go out and face Mole Man. They start beating the absolute piss out of all the monsters, winning the fight pretty handedly. Until Mole Man calls upon his secret weapon. A massive monster pops out of the ground, towering over everyone, recreating the cover of the first Fantastic Four comic that I've been taking inspiration from this whole time. This monster is laying waste to all our heroes. Bucky, Falcon, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and Mr. Fantastic are all trapped in the clutches of this giant monster. All hope is seemingly lost for our heroes. That is, until the Thing comes in. Seemingly out of nowhere, the Thing launches himself towards this monster, clocking him in his jaw. He joins the fight, valuing the health of his friends over his own insecurities. Then, they defeat all the monsters attacking New York, take down Mole Man, and save the day. The six of them stand tall as Mole Man is being pushed into a police car in the background. A news reporter walks up to the six of them. Falcon and Bucky decide to head out, knowing that this moment truly belongs to Earth's newest heroes. The news reporter walks up asking Reed Richards who this new team are. They all smile, look down the lens of the camera, and have their Iron Man moment.
I am
the Fantastic Four. Boom! Roll credits, that's how you make a movie, goddammit! Oh, and if you're wondering about post-credit scenes, well, I've already got you covered there too. The post-credit scene cuts to a hospital room. We never see the face of who is actually in the hospital room, but we do see them looking through a mirror. The screen fades to black as there is a scream behind it. The scream, of course, being from Victor Von Doom. And that does it for the movie. Now, sure, you could just say that I stole a lot of that movie from Fantastic Four #1 with a few MCU tweaks. And in all honesty, I don't think I can really blame you, nor argue with you. But that story does everything I want. It told the origin of the Fantastic Four, and subsequently Doctor Doom as well, without even having him be the main villain. And with the little tweaks I added, it properly solidified them in the MCU. The Fantastic Four hasn't had too much luck on the big screen, but I believe my retelling of their origin does do it in a way that is fun, makes sense, and has a lot of nods to comic fans. Which, in all honesty, is kinda what everyone seems to want in a superhero movie. Anyways, that's gonna have to be the end of this video here. Did you guys like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of my over-analytic and dorky content, why not check out this video here? And while you're staring at this outro screen, why not click this little subscribe button? Anyways, hope you have a good day, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye! Yo.